Hey guys. All right, so I'm going to do a quick reading here. Um, I decided I would, uh, but not too long because it is getting cold out. Um, so it says here, thereby the awareness unto you who you are, which is the consciousness unto source, which is two different things in being one too, which is on its way to being one with, which is the one consciousness that isn't yet but is yet to be, meaning evolving through time unto itself to be of source, which is one with its own nature, which is true to itself, thereby the true self in being one, which is source, whereas you are it that which is one with, that thinks itself into being, which is of itself, not source. So we have the, I want to make sure this is on. We have the one source, which is consciousness. And then we have our one being, which is our human, which is the awareness of it, which is the one of being the observer of our consciousness and awareness, right? So honestly, from my understanding, where I'm at is that we are actually the awareness. We're not the consciousness, right? Consciousness is source, but we're of it. So we're the awareness of the consciousness of the one being, which is source, which is our relation, not our related. So again, our related is who we're being to others outside of ourselves. We're related to friends. We're related to the trees. We're related to everything else. But we're our relation, which is source, right? Which is the commonality in all things. And so when we have the commonality in all things, which is one, we're able to see that they are source too. And so that's that's either our conflict or non-conflict, because we think they are separate beings, right? Because we're seeing them as their human form or their tree form or their animal form. We're not seeing them as source. That's the conflict from what we're seeing, right? But we're the awareness of, so we're the observance of consciousness, which is the being of who we are from where we are, which is the state of being. And our awareness, right, which is also from our past to our point. So if we're have a lot of negativity or positivity or wounds, or we're coming from the space of love, that's how we're seeing, right? That's a reflection of being from ourselves that we're projecting onto the world. And that creates our experience, right? As one. So we have the experience and the awareness of being, but we're not the one consciousness. But we are in the process of. So that's why it says that it isn't yet, but is yet to be at one with, right? Source. Thereby you are at that which is one with, that thinks itself into being separate, but is of itself, not source, right? So we think we're separate, but we're really not. Thereby you are of yourself, not source, for you have found yourself separate, not one with, that is source. Thereby the related, not the relation, which is of itself separate, or one with, that which suffers itself or is in bliss of, which is love. So whenever we're in bliss, we're in love, right? Not really love, the true love, right? And then whatever we suffer, right? Thereby your love is one to that which is being, or not to that which isn't. For you love your suffering more than its bliss. Sometimes we enjoy our suffering, right? More than our love, right? So sometimes we enjoy more of our suffering, and that's, it says, you love your suffering more than its bliss, which is to find itself in being one with that which you are separate. So when we're in our suffering, we come to our awareness that we're suffering. So we're coming to the awareness that we're who we are in our human form, because source isn't of suffering, it's of love. So we become aware of our suffering, right, of where we are. And at that point, it's awakening, because then we have an opportunity to change it when we become aware of a suffering. It's when we don't have awareness to our suffering that we can't change it, right? We just enjoy our suffering, right? Because some things actually feel better in our suffering than it does when it doesn't, right? Because it makes you feel better sometimes, and it's not, it's not making it okay, but sometimes we feel better to be angry at other people than ourselves, right? And we think it's them, not ourselves. right? To think it's outside of ourselves versus, okay, this is me, versus them, but it's our projection on them that's creating it. It's bringing it up within us so we can see it. That's why we have these interactions and these changes. So it's like a trigger point, right? And so when things are being triggered, it's for it to come up and for us to see it in ourselves, not to project on others and to make it out to be them, because then we're not really resolving anything. We're just making more of it than what it really is. And it's just seeing, okay, this is within me. This is me. Because we only experience what's ours. We don't experience what's them, but it's the projection of ourselves onto them that creates the experience that it is, right? So, but it's really not, because we're seeing them in the experience, so we think it's what they are that's creating my suffering, but it's really what's already here within me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be experiencing it. It's like two people go to watch a movie and two people have two different reactions to the movie. One's crying, one's laughing, right? It's really about our experience. It's not about the other person, but they're just the trigger for us to have it, right? So it's an illusion. Thereby your love of being is one to that which is being, or not to that which isn't, for you love your suffering more than its bliss, which is to find itself in being one to that which is suffering from, right? So anytime it's, whatever's coming up is what we're suffering from. Thereby you find it true or false in its being to that which exists, for it is that which is appearing to you, not that which is. It isn't. Thereby you are it that which has stepped away from its own knowing, which is closed to you, to that which you go through them, which is others unto itself and being, for source is never closed to you, you are. So source is never closed to us. We're the ones that are close to source, and we cut ourselves off from the knowing and the truth of what really is, right? And so that's the experience. Thereby you've stepped away from your own knowing, which is in him, to being that which is one to source, which is the relation, not the related. So we're cutting ourselves off from source. Thereby you are at that which is the gates of heaven within you, meaning you're of him, to being the inner and the outer world, right? So the experience of being inner and outer, which is the same, which is portraying itself into being, which is the creation of the experience. Thereby you are it, which is being in the moment. So whatever we're seeing now is what we're experiencing, but it's coming from within, not out, right? But it's the trigger that's out that brings it up, right? It's kind of like I said before, it's the muddy water in the glass that has settled to the bottom and is being triggered, so it comes back up. It's the rising of the dead. Thereby, be it that which is in sin, which is SYN, not SIN, or energy, meaning to arise, that which is in alignment or not, to that which is source or itself, which is of a God. So you're either being of a God to yourself, or you're being a God to something else that's outside of yourself, right? So that's kind of like trying to control the outside world, the universe outside of you, when it actually is coming from within. You have no control over the world outside of you, only what's within. Like, you don't have control over another person, but you think you do, and that's force, right? So when we're trying to force something onto something else outside of ourselves, we're forcing, right? And that has, a result, right? So it's seeing yourself within, not outside, right? Thereby you are God that has come to heaven, which is within. Heaven is within, to find peace through our awareness of what's going on here. When we don't understand ourselves, we don't understand everything comes from within. We think it comes from without, which creates more suffering to ourselves. Thereby to live in, which is a life of being, that which is of the creation. So whatever we're being in the moment is what we're creating. And so we live in that, right? We can create our own mess, or we can create our own beauty, basically, which is one with itself, or that which isn't, right? And that's just awareness of itself. Thereby it is by the gates of heaven that you be unto yourself or not, which is closed to you, to that which you rely on them, not itself. So when you close yourself off to source, which is the all-knowing, you close yourself off, and the only other option is to be of them that you're seeing, that you're experiencing, instead of allowing yourself to be open this way. You're allowing yourself to be open this way, which is the unconsciousness, because you're not in awareness. You're only in awareness of yourself, not awareness of source, right? Which is the line. Thereby it is by the gates of heaven that you be unto yourself or not, which is closed to you, to that which you rely on them. So you're relying on them to see of yourself, right? And so you're seeing of your own consciousness, where you are in that space and moment in time, not where you are with source when you're in alignment, is two different things. So you're relying on them, not itself, which is who you are in alignment with source. For that which you are choosing to be, you are not that which is open or closed to that which is the window into self or the mirror. So you're either into the window of your true self, or you're the mirror of them, which is a reflection of being. For you're both unto yourself, but you're choosing to be of one or the other. You can't be of both at the same time, that which is separate of self or not. Thereby you are that which is both, and being together against itself, which is one with, not separate from, which is a fair fight, not a war against others. For you cannot win a war against yourself, if it is in of itself being of one, that which you are, for you are yourself, that which is source, meaning the same thing. So it's a fair fight, not a war against others, right? So basically it's saying, you know, we're really against ourselves, right? All is source, right? We're just seeing ourselves or others as not source, but the relation, right? So the relation of the related. So all things are source in its own true being, which is awareness of itself, which is consciousness, which is the being of its being in the present moment. So I'm aware of myself being in this space, which is a consciousness, but I'm the awareness of it, not the being of it. Source is the being of it, which is the consciousness. I'm just the awareness of it, of its being, right? Because when you are not things, so it's kind of like the saying where they say, if the tree falls, can you hear it, or do you know it's whatever? I don't know what that's. I don't remember what the saying is exactly, but it's the same thing, except for it's not hearing. You know, nothing is until you're aware of it. It's like the example I gave in a different video. You're not aware of your suffering until you become aware of it, and so you can't change it until you're aware of it. So it's the awareness of yourself in your space of the person, Laura as my being, or you as your being, or you know, you're in the awareness of source, right? So which is the being that is here, because everything is consciousness. Everything is a different level of consciousness. Like your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your whole body as one, all evolves as an independent intelligence and a together intelligence, just like everything else in the universe, right? So all your parts in your body exist separately as one individual part. So your heart has a job, your kidneys has a job. It's not really that it's a job, it's intelligence. It's how it works. It's knowing, right? When you put it all together, you get the human form. And so it's all being together, working together as one unit, which is same as how we are as an individual in the universe. We're one little system acting and creating in the universe as a whole part. So we all have a purpose, and you know, and all you know, not just a purpose but a reason for being, and our role in it makes, you know, part of it, which is what they call the weave of the web of the universe, right? So a lot of shamans, you know about the web or the weave. Everything that we do affects everything else, even if we're not doing anything, right? Just being here in the present moment affects everything else, right? It's our experience to everything. So everything has a purpose, and everything is for a reason. of being. It's not, we all have a part and role in it, and it's all important. Everybody's important in what they're doing in their experience, right? So it's little pieces of intelligence in everything that is creating this bigger picture, right? So it's like having a puzzle and then a piece missing, right? Everybody's important, right? And we want to be able to change and shift our consciousness about everybody has a role and a purpose, and we are all source. We're all a part of the puzzle. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? So having that conscious and awareness. But when we're the fight against ourselves, it's really a fight against ourselves when we have the contradiction or the awareness thinking that we're separate against each other, instead of one, with working in union together with others as one, right? And it's just a conflict and fight with ourselves, because what's within is outside, and then whatever is outside is within. It's like a reflection. Thereby you are at war with yourself, not them. It only appears it that way. For all things are of source, which is the liberation, not the limitation. So when you can see everybody as they are, as their true self, as their intelligence, not their ignorance, which is like their human form or whatever it is that's appearing that triggers us or brings up whatever it is that's within us, we're able to change that and transform it, and it becomes our liberation, not our limitation. Thereby it is that which is a law of one, not two, for it is of you who you are being, not that which isn't, for all things are of itself and being that which is one with source, not separate of it. For it only sees of itself, not that which isn't. Meaning that when you see of yourself, you're only seeing of who you are as your person. You're not seeing of the true self, which is source. So seeing through the eyes of source is different than seeing through the eyes of the human version or the animal or the tree or whatever it is that's either connected or disconnected, right? And it's just transforming that. Thereby you are that which you believe in that makes itself out to be. So you're of your own creation, not source. Thereby it is that which is to itself, not others, for you are not of them. You are of me, which is capitalized, me as in source, as in him to being, which you are, who I am, that I am of, being unto itself, which is the layers of being unto itself, not separate. So there's different layers of consciousness, source, from and throughout evolution of your being, from beginning of time till now, wherever you are. It's the picking up of where you are every time you come back in to recreate of itself in a different way, in a different manner, a different form, to be of something else from a different perspective. So that way you have all these different awarenesses within yourself to bring forth to the world, as you are currently being, if that makes sense. All right, and it says the layers of being unto self, not separate. Thereby the capsulated being is that which is to itself and him to being, which is the line to that which is of them or yourself that you're seeing from, which comes first, right? So there's the line of being in line to source, or there's a line of being unto what has been of the past, so where you are in your frame of mind and reference. So there's the two lines, right? So you're an encapsulated being, which is of this form, or you're of your source, which is basically of your awareness, your consciousness. What am I seeing from? Where am I seeing from? Thereby the eye of being that is in him to being is that which is believing, meaning you are of me, which is capitalized source, or of itself, right? So the me being source, or the itself is being me, my human self, my human form. So that's one thing about this book. It says when it talks from different perspectives, it actually gives the awareness of it from that space. So in the book, you would see the I am or the I am, and it'll be capitalized when it is emphasis in from source perspective, in that awareness as it's speaking, through me. So that's how it comes. And so I'll capitalize it when I'm seeing that it's coming from that awareness, not myself. Right? All right. I think I'm going to end it here shortly. Says, thereby to believe in something else other than what is of sin, which is SYN, not SIN, not itself an energy, that which resonates with itself. Because there's synergy and then there's energy, right? There's synergy. That's what synergy is, what resonates of the energy. So you're either of the energy of source, which is one, or you're of synergy, which resonates from its source into something else. So it resonates and radiates into something else of itself in the being of it, which is either true or false, which is from where you're seeing it from, is the perspective. And so it's what resonates with you where you are in your being at the time, which is the difference in being one with, which is the taking up and the putting down. So you're either taking up yourself in awareness and perception, which is the human form or whatever form you're taking, or you're taking on source perspective, right? And then you're seeing from that. Thereby you are it, which is the one being unto itself in either position, which is awareness of itself, meaning to be of itself or not, which is the taking of itself in life, which is to live itself in being, which is one or true or false. Thereby you are of one or the other, not both, unto itself at the same time, which is its existence unto itself and living, meaning to mirror itself or to be one with itself. Thereby the experience itself in life or death, for you are of death to that which you are not of life, which is not the opposite, but a different stream of consciousness. So you're not actually opposite. I know a lot of people, and I would think of it too as the duality, of everything, dark and light duality, but it's actually the fullness and the emptiness of it. So the emptiness, of course, is the darkness, and the fullness is the light. So it's the stream of light until the dark, which is full and empty. It's not the opposite. But a lot of people see it as duality, but it's really not duality. It just seems like it because it's the opposite, right? That which has light is love, that which has not light is not love, right? Which can appear, depending on your level of awareness, as duality, but there is no duality. It's the isness or is not that's appearing to you, which is the form of life, right? So you're either of love or you're not, you're empty of it. If that makes sense. There's different levels within that stream of consciousness from where you are to where source is. And so from there is the different levels of consciousness of it, right? So the different levels of consciousness of love is different streams of consciousness to where you are from here to there. Now, how do I get from here to there? It's the feeling of love and following the feeling of love to get where you are and want to be the source, right? Because if we're not in love, what are we feeling? Right? It's the concepts of being, where we are, what we're feeling, how do I feel, how do I see, how do I experience, and that's all what creates the experience of oneness, right? The one with where I am, or the one where I am with source, right? Which is the consciousness. So there's different streams of consciousness going on. Sorry, I'm phrasing here, trying to move around. So there's different streams of consciousness of all things existing as there is nothing that doesn't exist, for even in its not existing exists as not. So there's nothing that doesn't exist. Everything exists even when it's not existing. It's a making up of it that isn't. So with that, it's basically everything exists even when you're not existing. It exists because there's no real death. There's no not being. There's always being of its kind, which is wherever it is that you are, right? So, for instance, if I'm existing in whatever form I'm existing, or I'm existing as a certain consciousness, I'm still existing. right? Whether I'm a form or not, right? So everything does exist, only exists unto itself in being, which is one or true or false, right? That which you believe. So in its existing, you're still being, right? Right, which is one. So I'm either one with myself or one without, if that makes sense. Thereby you are that which is both unto itself, that which is living and that which isn't, which is of itself true or false. And I'm going to end it with this next one, I think. Thereby the burdens of being unto itself separate is to that which you are being one with itself, whereas you are one to yourself and being one that which is of bliss. So, and then that brings me back to the consciousness. So the stream of consciousness is the awareness of its being in the present moment to where it is that you are, from where you are that you're not, which is source, which is the relation, not its related. But by the related, it helps me to see where I am in the present moment, if that makes sense. So it's the projection of myself into the world that brings it back to me to show me where I am in the relation to source. Okay, where am I in relation to source? It's the stream of conscious that I am in the moment, which is being who I am now from where I am, possibly later, in time. But where I am now, what am I feeling? What is my relation to source? Right? Am I in love? Am I in that space of love? Not being in love like as a relationship, trying to find love and get married and have kids, that kind of love. But where am I in relationship of love? Am I feeling sad, happy, bliss? Where am I in that stream of consciousness from where source is? Really is where I live, right? That's where I'm living now in the moment. Not that I live there forever, but that's where I am when I live there in the moment of my experience. So it's the being of it, which is my reality that I'm choosing from. Okay, where am I choosing to be? Which is my creation. So I'm choosing to be happy. I'm choosing to be sad. I'm choosing to be frustrated, angry, love, kind, helpful, things like that, right? And so it's our choosing of where we're at that we're being, basically. So I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of what that part of the book is talking about. Um, and the different streams of consciousness. We have like I said, we have the light, which is the full consciousness of love, which is source, and then we have ours, which is the separateness, coming into the darkness. So the further away we get, the separate we get, and we feel disconnected. And so to get from here to there is the different streams of consciousness to get from here to there, that what we're seeing in the present moment. Where am I, and what is the better feeling, you know, of that consciousness and awareness? Okay, how do I get from here to there so I can be related to source in the way that is flowing through me, not being disconnected from me, right? So there's different ways you can do that, just being present with yourself, feeling your way there. You have the emotional scale, from Abraham Hicks, different things like that, different tools. But it's not duality, it's the consciousness awareness of where you are from here to there, which makes you feel separate or independent, of it, which is the being of yourself. So the further away I get, the more independent I get into being like ego, right? So there's the different consciousness. Okay, I'm of the mind or am I of the awareness, right? Which is source or of myself and others. So there's only the only two, and I'm in the middle. I get to choose of which stream of consciousness I want, right? So I'm the creator of my own experience. All right. Hope that helps. Any questions, drop them below. Any experiences, put those below. Just be mindful of how you're, posting. But if you wanted to do a session, we can definitely, book a session. And when I have groups coming up, I'll let you know about that. Like, share, and subscribe. Happy journeys.